Hey writers! I just finished the Druid story I talked about the very first video I made for this channel. And I'm putting it in a drawer to leave it to edit at some point. And because my brain cannot stop, I obviously have a new idea for a story. And I'm starting to outline and plan that. It's quite satisfying, obviously, to have like this vague idea and congeal it into a specific form, which is what that first video was about. And with this one, at the moment, I'm focusing on the character, which is what this video is going to talk about. How to make a great character. Now, if you've gone online and searched this very question, you'll find that a lot of people advocate for this kind of questionnaire approach, where you answer like 50 to 100 questions of your character, from their favourite food to who their crush was and what their profession was. Whenever I've used these questionnaires, they've never actually been useful for the story, writing the character within it. A lot of times the favourite food or where they've gone to school doesn't really help you to know what their personality is, which I think is the most important part of having a character. To make a great character, you need it to feel real, three-dimensional, that they have a personality and you understand why they're doing certain actions. So realising those questionnaires didn't really work for me, I came up with my own process of creating great characters. I come up with 4 things for the characters, which I'm going to go into in this video, and at the end there's a little bonus thing that will merge them all together, so don't click away. The curious thing I found when writing short stories and giving them for critique is that the stories that were doing well and the characters that were doing well were the ones where I was using my life experience and my thoughts and feelings a little bit into the character. When I started thinking about this, it kind of made sense. The story was stronger because I was able to put details and thoughts and feelings that came naturally to me. And I think this is why writers say, write what you know. It's not that you can't write, being a dragon rider. Obviously no one's been a dragon rider. It's just like, if you write something where you're not too totally sure on it, it will come out in the writing. It will be a little bit more vague. It will be less dramatic. But I think there's a bit of a workaround that you can do. You don't always need to put your own life experiences into the novel. You can create life experiences for the character. Now obviously you can't make every experience they've had from birth to wherever they are in the story. You have to kind of pick and choose. Use the most important parts of those characters, like the first friends that they made, or that first kiss that they had, those kind of things. Now you may be thinking, hang on a minute, didn't you earlier say not to do like a questionnaire of like your favourite foods and the name of your crush and that kind of thing? That didn't really help you. For example, if I just said, my crush is Joanna, that doesn't really give you any character, does it? What you're getting at is the emotions and the feelings that that crush is actually connecting to, the personality of those things. The way I act when I have a crush is a little bit different to the way you act, to the way someone else acts. It's trying to get that core, how they act and how they feel about that, into the story. I'll give you another example. My favourite food is lasagna. Doesn't really help you. But what if I told you the reason why my favourite food is lasagna is because that was the meal where all my family were together, all my brothers and one sister was together at the same table. That was a special meal to us. Later on, there was always like that one piece that was spare, and me and my brothers would always fight that over who gets that piece. You see, by sharing what the lasagna means to me, why it's a special connection, I'm giving you a little bit of my character. You're connecting to me on an emotional level. And that's what you're doing when you're creating these life experiences. You're not just saying lasagna is important to them, you're saying why is it important. Now, the next thing I create for characters is morals. What are morals? Well, they're the things that we think are right and wrong. The kind of lines we will never cross. And the subjects or the things that we're so passionate about that we will defend them probably with our lives. It stands to reason then, to make a great character, we should also make morals for them. So how do you do that? Well, I can't deny that my tip here is going to be a little bit controversial. Hey, if you're liking these tips, hit that like button. I'll love it if you do it. It'll help me greatly. So what's my controversial tip to find out what your character's morals are? It's to find out who they'd vote for. Yeah, that's not going to go wrong. So why does knowing who they'd vote for connect to morals? Well, I've noticed that who you vote for actually doesn't change that much. It might change for certain people at certain events, but most of the time who we vote for when we're 18, when we first can start voting, and who we vote for when we're 45 doesn't really change much. When we get older and more experienced with the world, what happens is not that we change who we vote for, it's more that we understand why we vote for them. Like, we have more evidence, so that evidence goes to why we chose that party in the first place. I think the reason for this is that who we vote for as a party, who we like as a president or prime minister, whoever your leader is, really gets down to our fundamental morals. We want to vote for that party because they connect to what we find right and what we find wrong in life. The party we vote for, while not perfect representation, is usually a good representation of the lines or the boxes that we put ourselves in when it comes to morals. Now, I'm not going to go into what party you vote for means in terms of morals. You can figure out what parties are in your country and the type of people that will vote for them. Just make sure that you're not stereotyping, that you're not going negative with this. One, it's a bit lazy. Not necessarily a party means that you'll definitely be this way. There's a few variants from extreme to more moderate. Just keep that in mind. The other thing is that not many people believe you, even if you do write the extreme thing. I know these people can exist, but for a story, people just don't believe them and don't really like reading about them. So the third thing I'll create for a character is opinions. Now, what's the difference between opinions and morals? Well, despite what you think from talking to people on the internet, opinions aren't totally set in people. I can, as a teenager, think when I read Lord of the Rings that it's not a great book. It's a bit boring. There's too much singing, all of that kind of stuff. But as an adult, I can read it again and change my opinion. I can think, yes, while that is true, I actually quite like the atmosphere that comes from that. See, my opinion about that Lord of the Rings book is not fixed. It can change over time. Now, like life experiences, you don't want to create every single opinion that the character might have in life. That just won't fit. All you really want to do is make the important opinions that will come up or will have an impact with the story. The opinions you want to create in your story are the ones where it's actually negative or they're wrong in some way. Those are the ones that will have the most impact on a story. When the character sprouts that opinion or when it comes up, there will be tension, there will be friction. Not everyone is going to agree with that. Also, having that wrong opinion means that the character can change over time. If you have a character with an opinion at the start where all government ministers are corrupt and every time they interact with a government minister that comes up and that creates tension, over time they can maybe see some government ministers that aren't like that, that actually do care about their people and all that kind of stuff. It will create a change and create a kind of positive outlook of the character, and that change can be quite powerful in a story. What would your character do if they witnessed violence? How would your character react if someone was quite aggressive to them? What would they do in an emotional moment that's either sad or uncomfortable? This is the fourth thing that you're creating for your characters. Their reactions. The reason why I think reactions are important to great characters is that that will be the key to the interactions they have with others. If someone comes up to them and gets aggressive, how they deal with that is a key element to that scene you've made. For example, whenever I get into an argument, don't like to admit it, I can be quite shouty, I can be quite aggressive, I can be quite in your face. And that will have a reaction and interaction with the others. If I do it to a loved one or if I do it at work, they will have certain opinions and certain reactions. It will affect the relationship I have with that loved one. And if you have a story about a relationship, that can be quite an important interaction point in that story. If you make reactions for your character, what that will do is make more unique actions in your scenes. When something happens, will react to it, and that reaction will have a counter reaction. And as I said in that first video I made, a lot of stories are based on a character pushing on something and that thing pushing on them and the forwards and backwards of that. And when you have a unique reaction, that will create a unique story for you. I do believe that if you create these four things, you'll create a great character. But as I promised at the beginning, there's a bonus tip. And that tip is where you connect a few of these. Now, the easiest one to connect is life experience to any of these others. This will create a bit more of an in-depth character. The reason for that is that when a character has a reaction and an opinion, we like to understand why are they having that. And it may be cliched, it may be a little too narrow focus, but if you as a writer say, oh, there's this life experience in the background that creates these, a reader will be more satisfied. The reason why they argue with everyone is because they had 5 brothers and everyone shouted their opinion. That makes sense. By the way, I'm talking about myself there. But there's a bonus to that bonus tip. sometimes it's actually more interesting to not connect some of these. It creates a little bit of a tension or a little bit of mystery. Okay, they have this opinion, but nothing about their morals or reactions or life experience really connects to that. It'll make it a little bit more intriguing to the reader. Oh, why do they have that? And maybe you answer it later down in the line, or maybe they don't. But that kind of little niggle, little question can make like a fully realised character, because not necessarily do we know everything, and sometimes people can surprise us. And on that line, if you really want a complex character that will intrigue and frustrate and get people into it, sometimes it could be good to have the opposite of some of these things, like to have a moral that says you will protect your family from anything, but to have a reaction to run away. There's a film called Force Majeure. It was remade as Downfall with Will Ferrell in America. Basically, that film is about a person with the morals that they will protect their family. That makes sense. But when they react to a deadly avalanche, they protect themselves. They run away and hide and want to protect themselves. And the whole film is about this family going, hang on a minute, these two don't go together. What's going on? And that disconnect between a reaction and to a moral created a whole film. You could do the same with your book. It creates these complex characters that you can get your teeth into. So there you have it. The 4 things that if you create will make a great character. What were they? They were life experiences, morals, opinions, reactions, and the bonus, which is connect some, disconnect others, have some that are the opposite. Now again, if you've loved these tips, if you find them useful, hit that like button, comment about how you've created your characters, what tips and tricks you've come up. Maybe you've even done those questionnaires and find them useful. Say why. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.